All right, this is lesson page 4 for lesson 4.1 on statistics for Math 1. And here we're going to go ahead and take a look at how to find the mean, median, mode, and range for data sets. And we're going to start with the data set that we had on the previous page for number of siblings. Now I'm going to go ahead and write these in order already. So we have 2, 2, and there were 3 3s. There was a 4, a 6, a 7, a 10, a 12, a 13, and a 100. Let me check on something real quick. What did I do with that previous page? Hold on one second. There is a slight difference in this data. So the first couple pages we did on one day, and then when we did this, it was on a new class period, and one of our students who wasn't there the prior day shared their data, which was 12, and so that's where that 12 came from. That was not on the previous page, but we went ahead and added it to this data. Now, to find the mean, I have to add all these numbers up, and there's really no great way to do it other than just add them up one at a time. So we'll do 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And if you're doing data like this, it's always good to do it twice. Or if you have somebody that you're working with, have them add it up too and see if you get the same values, because the chances of two people making the exact same mistake is pretty small. So when I added everything up, I got 165. So 165 is my total. And if we count how many numbers there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, there are 12 numbers there. So we take that 165 and we divide it by 12, and that gives us an average of 13.75. Now I want to point out this 100 is really skewing the data. If we didn't include that, it would be 65 divided by 12, which would be 5.4, which would be somewhere here in the middle, right? So that 100 is really skewing that data. And we'll talk about this in a minute about, well, what do you do when this value's here? Because there are times when we just take a value like this and we just throw it out because we feel like it's what we call an outlier, that it's not representative of the rest of the data, so we just don't include it. So we don't get this skewed value here. So like you could see, you would get a much more reasonable average without that. All right, let's go ahead and go to the median. To find the median, we need to find the middle number. So if I look here, there's 12 numbers. This right here, I think this is the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I draw a line right here, that's the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 numbers on this side, 6 numbers on that side. Since there's an even number of numbers, we would select those two, and we would average them. So we have 4 and 6. So we do 4 plus 6 divided by 2, and we get a median of 5. That would be our median. Now, what would happen if we took this number out? Then what would happen? Well, now we would have 11 numbers, and 4 would be the middle. That would become your median. So if you have an odd number of numbers, you'll just get a single value, and then you would just choose that middle number. So in this case, there were 2 middles, so you average them, but if there was just one middle, you just choose that one number. All right, mode. Okay, which numbers repeat and which ones repeat the most? Now for modes, if none of the numbers repeat, you say there's no mode. You don't say all of them are the mode. It's just no mode at all if none of them repeat. What if numbers repeat? You have a couple of numbers that repeat the same number of times. You can have more than one mode. If you had 3 numbers that all repeated, let's say 5 times, and they were the most repeating numbers, then you would have 3 modes, and that's okay. In this case, 3 is our mode. So 3 is the mode. So the mode equals 3, and then 3 happens 3 times. Now 2 happens 2 times, but it's not the mode because it didn't happen the most. It's most often. And then our last one is range. So in this case, you would just take the 100 minus the 2, And here we wind up with a range of 98. So it's just the min minus the max, or the max minus the min. Now, once again, if we threw this out, if we didn't use that 100, then it would just be 13 minus 2, so you'd get a range of 11. And so, but it's just taking the highest minus the smallest. So of these, which do you think best describes the data? The median, the mean, the median, or the mode? Well, in this case, excuse me, I would say probably the median. The median is probably the best representation. The mean is not a great representation because of this 100. This skews it above all the data, so it has your median, your average number, higher than all the data except for 1. So this 100 really is throwing that off. So I think 5 is a much better representation. So I would say the median. And I'd say because, oops, I can write, because the mean is skewed, meaning it's been stretched or moved, so is skewed we'll figure how I want to say that, is skewed to a higher value. All right. So, and then I don't think the mode is a good example, even though 3 has a lot. There's 3 occurs multiple times. It's not real representative of the data. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Excuse me. So here we want to find the measure of central tendency for height. So we went ahead and measured all the heights in the room. So I'm going to go ahead and write all those values. And I'm going to write them in the order that we collected them. Oh, that's a 66. '61, 66. 63, 61, 69, nope, 79. Sorry about that. Now, let me double 60. I have to double check them in 70. I kind of lost track. 66, right? 61, 79, 58, 63, 76. There we go. So what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and reorder this data, go ahead and find the mean, median, mode, and range, and then figure out which one you think is the best example of that, and then and pause the video while you do that, and then unpause when you're finished. All right, so hopefully you've done that work. I'm going to go and just show you all the results from it. So here I went ahead and reordered the data, and looking at this, this is the reordered data. When you add up all the numbers, you should have gotten 794. We're going to divide that by 12, which will give you 66.16 repeating. The median, it had 2 medians, 2 middle numbers, 63 and 66. So when we average those, you get 64.5. And then the mode, 63, occurred 3 times. There were 3 occurrences of 63. And then the range is 21. Now, the median, we have some heights that are a lot taller than the rest. So we have like these ones here, like the 76 and the 79, that are pretty far jumps. Like if you look here, that's only a 2-inch difference. No, 3-inch difference. I can math. 3-inch difference, no inch, 2 inch, 0, 0, 0, a 3-inch difference, 0, a 2-inch difference, a 2-inch difference. So on this entire front row, the largest difference we see is 3 inches, and then it's 2 or less all the way through up to 70. Then suddenly we have a 6-inch jump and a 3-inch jump. So these last two are pretty, like, it's a much bigger jump on these last ones. So they're significantly higher. So I think that skews this number higher. So I still think the median is going to be a better representative. Now, this doesn't always happen, but it certainly happened in this case. So we have our 64.5 as a median, and I like that best. 63 is also fairly close, but I think median's probably the best. All right, that concludes this this page 4 of this lesson. Go ahead and continue on to page 5, please.